Late last year, in the midst of a run of popular American movies by Legendary Pictures, Japan's Toho Studios brought their favorite son home for his first domestically made theatrical feature in 5 years. Released in commemoration of the character's 70th anniversary, Godzilla Minus One takes the titular behemoth into new territory with the franchise's first ever period piece. In the months since its release, the film has met with phenomenal global success and rave reviews across the board. Godzilla Minus One marks the first homegrown Godzilla movie to be produced since I moved to Japan a few years ago, and being a lifelong fan, I naturally jumped at the chance to see it on opening day. But is it worth all the hype? Let's find out. I'm Tyler Martin, and this is Monsters from the Id. Our story begins in the waning days of the Second World War, with kamikaze pilot Koichi Shikishima ditching his plane at a Japanese base on Odo Island. Finding nothing wrong with the aircraft, lead mechanic Tachibana suspects, correctly as it turns out, that Shikishima has abandoned his duty to die in the name of the Emperor. That night, the base is set upon by a dinosaur-like creature known to the locals as Godzilla. Though poised to fire on the beast and potentially take it out, Shikishima, in his terror, hesitates, resulting in the utter destruction of the base and its crew, save for an infuriated Tachibana. Eventually, Shikishima returns to the charred remains of his home in Tokyo, where he learns that his parents were lost in the air raids. There he takes in a young woman named Noriko, and with her a baby girl, Akiko, also orphaned by the war, forming a de facto family unit around which they strive to build a new life. He manages to land a job sweeping mines with a ragtag crew of likable Navy veterans. All the while, Shikishima is racked with shame and guilt as his wartime experiences haunt his dreams night after night. Meanwhile, Godzilla, caught in the heart of an American nuclear test at Bikini Atoll, undergoes mutation, becoming much larger and more ferocious than ever before, and makes short work of a number of U.S. warships before making a beeline for Tokyo. These shocking losses, combined with mounting Cold War tensions, leave the Americans, at the head of the Allied occupation, unwilling to help. Thus, an unsuspecting Japan, already laid low by a calamitous war, faces further devastation at the hands of a monstrous new threat, left with precious little to stem the oncoming terror. At the heart of the resistance are the Minesweeper crew and Shikishima, resolved to go to desperate lengths to redeem himself and protect his newfound family. Written and directed by seasoned hitmaker and Godzilla fan Takashi Yamazaki, Godzilla Minus One marks a significant departure from the popcorn fodder shenanigans of the concurrent MonsterVerse series, meditating on themes of grief, loss, survivor's guilt, and the indomitable will to persevere. Notably, Yamazaki does draw inspiration from several high-profile Hollywood works, ranging from Jaws to Dunkirk, which are lovingly referenced in some of the film's best scenes, as well as numerous nods to prior Godzilla films. Also on full display is his trademark sentimentality, tugging at the heartstrings throughout, though the Japanese-style melodrama does get to be a bit much at times. The cast as a whole make a strong impression, though again, the histrionics to which Japanese audiences are accustomed do occasionally come across to this viewer as overwrought. At the head are Ryunosuke Kamiki and Minami Hamabe as Shikishima and Noriko respectively, building on a natural chemistry which they established as co-leads in the popular NHK drama Ranman. As for the supporting players, all acquit themselves quite well, with Hidetaka Yoshioka's engineer Noda and Kuranosuke Sasaki's boat captain Akitsu meriting special attention. Their keen sense of conscience and duty make them standout characters, with amiable performances to match. The effects work, supervised personally by Yamazaki, is remarkable given the relatively minuscule budget and manpower involved. As a fan, I will always prefer to see practical effects in this or any type of movie, but must give credit where it's due. These digitally rendered visuals, while not necessarily convincing, very effectively convey the drama and horror at the heart of Yamazaki's vision, and rival much more expensive Hollywood productions in quality. And I'm hardly the only one who thinks so. as the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences recently honored the film with an Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects. Since the beginning, these films have been bringing the impossible to life with comparatively limited funds and resources, and it's nice to see a Godzilla movie get this kind of recognition. Also, on the visual end of things, mention should be made of the monochrome re-release titled Godzilla -1 - Color. More than simply switching off the color, Yamazaki and his team made careful manual adjustments to enhance the visual impact of individual scenes, with very effective results. Cinematographer Kozo Shibasaki's impressive camera work is made all the more striking, and many scenes recall the celebrated black and white works of directors like Akira Kurosawa and Kihachi Okamoto. While it sounded like an artistically pretentious and commercially shameless venture at first, I actually found myself preferring this version overall. Underpinning all this is a very effective musical score by longtime Yamazaki collaborator Naoki Sato, who powerfully evokes tension, terror, and pathos throughout. The story and visuals, laden as they are with dramatic weight, find a perfect mate in Sato's music, and viewers are liable to walk away with a firmly lodged earworm or two. During some key moments, very compelling use is also made of several classic Akira Ifukube themes, which further elevate an already excellent soundscape and bring an irrepressible smile to this fan's heart. All this is well and good, quite good in fact, but I would be remiss not to mention one potentially uncomfortable observation. Some controversy is bound to arise with respect to any narrative, cinematic or otherwise, dealing with Japan's wartime legacy. The film focuses heavily on the consequences of the war, but by not mentioning, much less condemning, the atrocities committed by the Japanese Empire against local populations throughout the Asia-Pacific region, the film might be viewed as a whitewashing of history. Complicating things further, the heroes of the piece are veterans of the Imperial Navy, which might seem on the surface to be blatantly nationalistic. But counterbalancing this argument is Godzilla -1's searing indictment of the suffering inflicted by the Empire upon its own people, soldiers and civilians alike. This theme lies at the very heart of the story, vividly conveyed through Shikishima's personal struggles and articulated verbally in no uncertain terms by characters like Akitsu and Noda, the latter pointing out the poor decision-making and blithe disregard for human life displayed by Japan's leadership in a speech which echoes original Godzilla director Ishiro Honda's 1954 war epic Farewell Rabaul. In taking this approach, one could say, as of some, that Yamazaki is trying to have it both ways. But to accuse -1 of promoting a nationalist agenda rather stretches the limits of credibility. Ultimately, the film succeeds as a tribute to the human spirit, a reflection on the struggle to rebuild and find redemption in the wake of a disaster brought about by Japan's own leaders, a message that Honda, himself a war veteran and fervent anti-nationalist, might very well have appreciated. And in this context, the monster he envisioned as a dire warning to humanity once again embodies the folly and tragedy of war itself in a story that serves the legacy of Godzilla and his creators well. In the end, Godzilla -1, while not quite flawless, is a very worthy addition to the Godzilla pantheon, and easily one of the finest monster films of recent years. Director Yamazaki has expressed interest in creating a sequel, an exciting prospect for sure, as I for one would like to see a proper series come out of this, something Toho hasn't done for decades now. But what do you think? Love it or hate it, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more Monsters from the Id. As always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.